Olivia carefully unwrapped the canvas to reveal a reproduction of the newly discovered mural fragment. Two figures painting together, their brushes creating a unified image neither could complete alone. "They're calling it the reunion," she whispered. Outside, the final clouds of the blizzard parted, allowing the first rays of afternoon sunlight to stream through the windows. The light caught the gold flecks in the reproduction, making them shimmer like stars aligning after centuries of darkness. James took her hand, both of them gazing at the artwork that seemed to mirror their own story across the centuries. 7. "Years ago, I thought success meant achieving goals independently," he said. "Now I understand it's about finding the right person to create something greater than either could alone." "Are you suggesting we apply for this project together?" Olivia asked, hardly daring to hope. "I'm suggesting much more than that," James replied. "I'm suggesting we stop turning away from each other when destiny keeps bringing us back." Olivia smiled, remembering the painting she'd created at the gala, two silhouettes walking away from each other. Now she envisioned its companion piece, those same silhouettes turning back, reaching toward one another across the divide. "Florence first," she said, stepping closer. "Then we'll see where our brushes take us." As the sun broke fully through, the clouds casting golden light across the snow-covered city, James and Olivia stood at the window together. Beyond the storm's aftermath lay a landscape transformed, familiar yet renewed, like their hearts. The old paths had converged again, but this time they would walk forward together on a canvas of their own creation. In the next room, baby Ethan's first day unfolded, a new life beginning just as another love story was being rewritten. Second chances, Olivia realized, sometimes arrived in the most unexpected packages during the most unforgiving storms, proving that even the longest separations could be bridges to more beautiful reunions. Some masterpieces, after all, required time, distance, and the perfect storm to finally be completed. Shadows of yesterday. Olivia Bennet adjusted her simple navy dress, feeling out of place among the glittering gowns and tailored suits at the Westbrook Foundation's annual charity gala. Her paint-stained fingers fidgeted with the small gold pendant at her neck, the only piece of jewelry she owned worth wearing to such an event. The grand ballroom of the Ashford Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and wealth that made her modest artist's life seem like it belonged to another universe. Entirely. "Miss Bennet, we're ready for you to begin whenever you're comfortable," said Eleanor Westbrook, the foundation's silver-haired director, gesturing toward the prepared easel near the stage. Olivia nodded, gathering her supplies. This live painting demonstration was her contribution to tonight's fundraiser. Her art would be auctioned to support community arts programs in underserved neighborhoods. It was meaningful work, the kind that kept her going through the lean months when commissions were scarce. "You're the mural artist, correct? The one who transformed Riverside Park?" asked a woman in a crimson gown, champagne flute delicately, balanced between manicured fingers. "Yes, that's me," Olivia replied with a small smile. "Though tonight I'm working on canvas, not concrete." The woman nodded politely before drifting away, attention already captured by someone more important. Olivia didn't mind. She preferred being invisible at these events, observing rather than observed. Her gaze wandered across the room as she arranged her paints, and that's when she saw him, James Thornton. 7 years older but unmistakable, his dark hair was now threaded with distinguished silver at the temples, his tall frame even more confident in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. He stood surrounded by admirers, laughing at something someone had said. The sound carried across the room, painfully familiar. Olivia's hands froze mid-motion. The color palette she'd planned suddenly seemed wrong, discordant. She hadn't expected Him here, though in retrospect she should have. James had become exactly what he'd always aspired to be. Successful, influential, wealthy. Of course, he'd be at an event like this. Their eyes met across the crowded room. For one breathless moment, recognition flashed in his gaze. Then something else. Surprise. Regret. Before she could decipher it, he turned away, deliberately engaging with the person beside him. The dismissal stung more than it should have after all these years. Olivia forced herself to focus on her canvas, mixing colors with mechanical precision. Their story had ended long ago when James had chosen his career path to corporate success over their relationship. Over the humble life they'd planned together in their tiny apartment where they'd dreamed impossible dreams. "Quite a crowd tonight," came a gentle voice beside her. Olivia looked up to find a kind-faced older man observing her work. "I'm Thomas Reed, board member." "Olivia Bennett," she replied, grateful for the distraction. "I know who you are," Thomas smiled. "Your community projects are precisely what the foundation wants to support, though I must say you look a bit like you've seen a ghost." Olivia laughed softly. "Just someone from my past." "Ah," Thomas nodded knowingly. "Galas have a way of resurrecting old connections. The weather isn't helping either. They're forecasting the worst snowstorm in decades. We might all be stuck with our ghosts tonight." As if summoned by his words, the magnificent windows rattled with a sudden gust of wind. Several guests glanced up nervously. Outside, what had started as light snowfall was rapidly intensifying. Olivia turned back to her canvas, letting her brush move across it with increasing confidence. She painted not what she saw in the glittering ballroom, but what she felt. Shadows and light, paths diverging, the ghost of what might have been. Across the room, she could feel James watching her now. She didn't look up, but she knew. Some connections didn't need eye contact to spark back to life. The storm outside grew louder, matching the tumult in her heart. Golden cages. The blizzard arrived with unforgiving force, just as the charity auction concluded. Olivia's painting, a haunting cityscape with two silhouettes walking away from each other, had sold for triple her usual rate. She should have felt elated, but the thunderous applause only made her more aware of her outsider status among the wealthy elite. "Ladies and gentlemen," Eleanor Westbrook's voice cut through the crowd's murmur, "I'm afraid I have concerning news. The roads have been closed due to dangerous conditions. The hotel management has graciously offered to accommodate us all for the night." A collective groan rippled through the ballroom. Olivia's stomach tightened. Trapped in a luxury hotel with James Thornton and 200 of Boston's wealthiest patrons, this was not how she'd planned to spend her evening. "Not the worst place to be stranded," came a smooth voice behind her. Olivia turned to find a woman in her 50s with a sleek bob and intelligent eyes. "I'm Vivian Russell, editor of Modern Architecture. Your work captivated me tonight." "Thank you," Olivia said, genuinely surprised. "I'm familiar with your magazine. We should discuss it featuring your murals in our urban renewal issue." Vivian handed her a business card. "A storm like this brings unexpected opportunities, doesn't it?" As Vivian departed, Olivia noticed hotel staff transforming the ballroom into an impromptu lounge. The orchestra continued playing soft jazz as waiters circulated with trays of coffee and desserts. The golden opulence of the Ashford felt both magnificent and suffocating, like being trapped in someone else's dream. "Miss Bennett," a hotel manager approached her, "we've prepared rooms for everyone, if you'll follow me." The plush suite they provided was more lavish than any place Olivia had ever stayed. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the blizzard raging outside, snow swirling in hypnotic patterns. She kicked off her uncomfortable heels and changed into the hotel robe, grateful she always packed essential supplies in her art bag. A knock at the door startled her. Expecting hotel staff, she opened it to find James standing in the hallway, still in his formal attire, but with his tie loosened. "Olivia," he said, her name sounding foreign on his lips after so many years. "I thought we should talk." She hesitated, then stepped aside. "Come in." James entered cautiously, as if crossing an invisible boundary. "I wasn't expecting to see you tonight." "Likewise," Olivia replied, maintaining distance between them. "Congratulations on everything you've achieved. Thornton Investments is quite the success story." "That's what they tell me," he answered with a half-hearted smile. "Your painting tonight was extraordinary, raw, honest. Unlike our last conversation," she said before she could stop herself. The words hung in the air between them. 7 years ago, James had ended their engagement with corporate precision, explaining that their paths were diverging, that his career required sacrifices she couldn't understand. What he'd really meant was that her artistic lifestyle had become incompatible with his ascending corporate trajectory. "I deserved that," he conceded, moving to the window. "The storm's getting worse." "Why are you here, James? In my room, I mean?" He turned, the snow light casting shadows across his face. "I don't know. When I saw you tonight, it was like looking at a fork in the road I didn't take." A soft knock interrupted them. Olivia opened the door to find a frazzled young couple, the woman heavily pregnant, both looking overwhelmed. "I'm so sorry to bother you," the woman said. "We're across the hall and our heat isn't working. The staff is overwhelmed with everyone stranded here." "Come in, please," Olivia offered immediately. "I'm Olivia, and this is..." Bridges over troubled waters. Dawn arrived without sunlight, the blizzard showing no signs of relenting. The hotel staff had transformed the restaurant into a breakfast buffet for their unexpected overnight guests. Olivia sat by a frosted window, watching ice crystals form intricate patterns while nursing a cup of steaming coffee. Sleep had been elusive after the watercolor session had ended in the early morning hours. "Is this seat taken?" James stood beside her table, holding a plate of breakfast and his own coffee. Olivia gestured for him to join her. They ate in comfortable silence for several minutes, the revelation from the night before hovering between them like a delicate soap bubble neither wanted to burst. "The Parkers seemed to be struggling this morning." James nodded toward a corner table where Nathan was attempting to comfort a visibly distressed Rebecca. "She looks uncomfortable." Olivia frowned with concern. "Should we check on them?" They approached the young couple cautiously. Rebecca's face was pale, her hands protectively cradling her belly. "Is everything all right?" Olivia asked gently. "Just some false contractions?" Rebecca attempted a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The doctor said they're normal at this stage." Nathan's worried expression told a different story. "They've been coming regularly for the past hour," he confided. "We're supposed to be at a birthing class today, ironically, our first child, and we feel completely unprepared." James exchanged a glance with Olivia. The hotel must have medical staff on call, especially during a weather emergency. "I already asked." Nathan ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "There's a doctor staying here, but they're handling an elderly guest who fell. They said they'd come check on Rebecca when they can." Olivia sat beside Rebecca and took her hand. "What can we do to help?" "Distract me?" the younger woman suggested with a weak laugh. "Tell me how you two know each other. You seemed familiar last night." James cleared his throat. "We were engaged 7 years ago." "Really?" Nathan's eyebrows rose in surprise. "What happened, if you don't mind me asking?" "Life happened," Olivia answered, feeling James's eyes on her. "Different paths." Rebecca winced suddenly, squeezing Olivia's hand as another contraction passed through her. "Sorry," she breathed when it subsided. "These don't feel like what the doctor described as false." Nathan's face drained of color. "We can't have this. A baby here. We're 3 weeks early." "Babies rarely follow schedules," came Vivian Russell's voice as she approached their table. I couldn't help overhearing. "I've delivered 2 children myself, one in a rather dramatic fashion during a power outage." Thomas Reed joined them, bringing extra napkins and water. "And I was a medic before entering the business world. Perhaps we could be of assistance." What began as a simple breakfast check-in transformed into an impromptu support team. James organized a private conference room to be prepared with clean linens and medical supplies from the hotel's first aid stations. Olivia stayed with Rebecca, timing contractions and practicing breathing techniques she vaguely remembered from a friend's pregnancy. Thomas and Vivian coordinated with hotel staff to contact emergency services, though the dispatch warned that ambulances were struggling with the blocked roads. "We were so focused on having the perfect birth plan," Nathan confessed to James, as they gathered supplies. "Now nothing's going according to plan." James nodded thoughtfully. "I spent years building my company on the principle that perfect planning prevents failure. But the most meaningful moments in life rarely follow our blueprints." "Were you and Olivia happy before the different paths?" Nathan asked abruptly. The question caught James off guard. "Completely," he admitted. "But happiness seemed insufficient reason to derail career ambitions. I thought we could find each other again after I'd achieved success." "But you didn't." "Pride," James sighed. "Fear of rejection. Every year made it harder to reach out." Nathan glanced toward his wife, who was now breathing deeply through another contraction with Olivia coaching her. "I almost lost Rebecca last year. I was working 80-hour weeks at my tech startup, convinced I was doing it for our future. She finally told me she wouldn't have a future with someone who wasn't present in her life." James stilled, recognition flooding through him. "What changed?" "I did," Nathan said simply. "Your investment firm saved my company, but Rebecca saved me. She showed me that success means nothing without someone to share it with." Across the room, Olivia was showing Rebecca her phone gallery, images of murals she'd created in children's hospitals and community centers. "Art heals," she was explaining. "These spaces give people hope when they need it most." "Like now," Rebecca smiled weakly, then grimaced through another contraction. "They're getting closer." The hotel doctor finally arrived, examining Rebecca. Quickly, before confirming what they'd suspected, the baby was coming, storm or no storm. What followed was a blur of activity as they transformed the conference room into a makeshift delivery area. Vivian took charge with surprising authority, assigning roles to everyone. Through it all, Olivia and James worked seamlessly together, anticipating each other's movements as if the 7-year gap had never existed. In the crisis, they rediscovered a rhythm they'd thought lost forever. "You're still the most level-headed person in an emergency," James murmured as they prepared hot water and sterilized scissors following the doctor's instructions. "And you still organize chaos into order better than anyone I know," she replied with a small smile. Outside, the blizzard continued raging, but inside their improvised sanctuary, a different kind of storm was building, one of connection, of bridges forming over troubled waters long thought uncrossable. As Rebecca's labor intensified, so did the silent understanding growing between Olivia and James that some bonds, once formed, were never truly broken, only temporarily obscured by pride and circumstance. Canvas of second chances. Ethan Parker entered the world at 3:42 p.m. with a powerful cry that echoed through the makeshift delivery room. Outside, as if in celestial acknowledgement, the blizzard finally began to subside, snowflakes falling more gently against the windows. Olivia stood back as the hotel doctor wrapped the newborn in warm towels and placed him in Rebecca's arms. "He's perfect," Rebecca whispered, tears streaming down her face as Nathan leaned in beside her, equally awestruck. The room filled with a reverent silence, the kind that accompanies moments of pure wonder. Olivia felt James's presence beside her, his hand finding hers in the shadows behind the others. She didn't pull away. "We'd like you both to be his godparents," Nathan announced suddenly, looking up at Olivia and James. "If you're willing." Olivia blinked in surprise. "But you barely know us." Rebecca smiled tiredly. "Sometimes life brings people together for reasons we don't immediately understand. You've been with us through one of the most important moments of our lives. You guided us through this storm, literally and figuratively," Nathan added. "We can't think of better guardians for Ethan's future." The request hung in the air, weighty with implication. Being godparents would connect them permanently, not just to baby Ethan, but to each other. James's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around Olivia's. "We'd be honored," he answered for both of them, looking to Olivia for confirmation. She nodded, emotion making speech difficult. Truly honored. As the doctor and hotel staff helped settle Rebecca and Ethan for rest, the others filed out, exhausted but elated. The corridor outside felt strangely quiet after the intensity of the delivery room. "The road should be cleared by tomorrow morning," Thomas informed them, checking his phone. "They've already started plowing the main highways." "Back to reality," Vivian sighed. "Though I dare say this has been the most memorable charity event I've ever attended." They dispersed to their rooms, the shared experience having transformed them from strangers into something closer. Olivia walked slowly beside James, both physically and emotionally drained. "Your sweet or mine?" James asked softly when they reached the elevator. "Mine," Olivia decided after a moment. "I have something I want to show you." In her room, Olivia retrieved her sketchbook from her bag. The storm outside had transformed into gentle snowfall, bathing the room in ethereal, blue-white light. She sat beside James on the small sofa and opened the book to a series of sketches she'd never shown anyone. "I drew these over the years," she explained, turning pages filled with James's likeness. James laughing, James deep in thought, James as she'd imagined he might look as he grew older. "Some from memory, some from glimpses when I'd see you around. The city." James traced a finger over one particularly detailed portrait. "You never really let me go." "I tried," she admitted, "but some people leave permanent marks on your canvas." He reached into his wallet and extracted a worn newspaper clipping, a small feature about Olivia's first major mural commission 5 years earlier. We both held on in our own ways. Outside, hotel staff were clearing pathways through the snow. The world was slowly returning to normal, which meant decisions needed to be made. "I'm leaving for Florence next month," Olivia said quietly. "A 6-month restoration project on historical murals. It's the opportunity of a lifetime." James nodded, absorbing this information. "My company is opening a European division. The headquarters will be in Milan.